This is the most insane Lotus ever made. It's called the 2026 Lotus Evija. It has over 2,000 horsepower and it costs over $2.5 million. So today I'm going to review it and show you guys everything that you know about this car, from the specs, design, the interior, and the exterior, and much more. Because I'm Xaaron and you're watching Xaaron Reviews. So first, we need to talk about the specs of this car because, well, this thing is just plain insane. It's Lotus's first ever all-electric hypercar and Lotus's first ever hypercar, period, for a fact, which is even crazier. But, well, this thing creates 2,027 horsepower and 1,754 pound-feet of torque. And, well, that's from 4 electric motors, and each of them are in the wheel. So you have one electric motor here, one electric motor there, one electric motor there, and then another electric motor right there. So you have 4 electric motors combined that help you create over 2,000 horsepower, and it was one of the first hypercars, period, to create over 2,000 horsepower. So that in itself is also quite crazy. But all that power goes through a single-speed planetary gearbox, which is, it has one speed for every single engine, as Lotus called it. They called it an engine, interestingly enough, but for every single electric motor there's a gear in the one-speed planetary gearbox, which pretty much makes no sense. But anyways, then all that power helps you go from 0 to 60 in only 2.8 seconds. You'd think it's actually faster, right? Because, I mean, 2,000 horsepower, but 0 to 60 in 2.8 seconds. And the reason why is actually because Lotus said themselves they weren't trying to make the Lotus Evija insanely fast off the line or from 0 to 60, but they're trying to make it extremely fast once it's accelerating from the 60 mile an hour up range. So 0 to 60 isn't extremely fast, but then when you start accelerating from 70 miles and up, well, it's completely insane. But 2.8 seconds 0 to 60, then you have a top speed of, well, 217 miles an hour. So they definitely wanted this car to be fast top speed wise. So you have insane top speed, pretty good 0 to 60, and overall, so far, this car is pretty crazy. But now we need to talk about the most important thing for any car out there, which is the quarter mile, especially for performance cars, because the quarter mile measures how fast the car goes from a stop to the quarter of a mile. And this car's quarter mile is mind-boggling, truthfully, because this car has a quarter mile in 8.6 seconds. 8.6 seconds. A brand new Tesla Model S Plaid has a quarter mile in about 9.7 seconds, which is still completely insane. But this has a quarter mile in 8.6. Literally, the Rimac Nevera R has a pretty similar quarter mile. That's the only car that can pretty much keep up with this car quarter mile wise. But yeah, the first ever Lotus hypercar in quarter mile in 8.6 seconds. That is definitely quite crazy. Now, well, I need to tell you guys the range and the MPG of this car, even though a lot of people aren't going to be buying this car because it's extremely fuel efficient or something like that. And so first thing first, we need to talk about the MPG of this car because, well, this car doesn't have just regular MPG, which means miles per gallon. It has MPGE, which means miles per gallon electric, and it measures, well, how efficient the car is over a mile of range. So this car has 122 miles per gallon electric, which is different than miles per gallon since this car doesn't have a regular internal combustion engine, but 122 miles per gallon electric, which is definitely really good. Then, well, you have 215 miles of range, which actually isn't that much worse than a brand new Nissan Leaf, which I actually reviewed before. You guys could check that video out with the link in the description below. But anyways, this car has 215 miles of range. Definitely not the best, but the strong point of this car is definitely, well, the speed. And so now I told you guys pretty much everything that you know about this car under the hood. All I need to tell you guys before we check out the interior and the exterior now is the price of this car, because this car is completely insane, even price-wise, because regularly the Lotus Evija starts at $2 million flat, which is not cheap by any means. But yeah, if you want to spec this car a lot, then the car could go all the way up to $2.5 million. So you could spec this car $500,000, which is pretty much 2 Porsche 911 Turbo S's. So you could buy 2 Porsche 911 Turbo S's, or you could buy, well, the paint trim on a Lotus Evija, so that is definitely quite interesting. So now that we checked out everything that you know about this car under the hood and the price, let's start checking out the exterior and then the interior. Okay, so now let's start checking out the exterior of this car, and first, I want to talk about the front of this car, because check this out. You have these really nice, it almost reminds me of the Lotus Emira style headlights, but almost like longer. You have these nice, like glass pieces on both sides here. Then you have your main nighttime running lights on there, and then on the bottom you have your more fog lights right there. And you can actually see the whole structure of this car is made of carbon fiber. Just check that out. Inside of the headlight, you can see all of the body panels are just fully that beautiful carbon fiber there, which I'm definitely a huge fan of. And once we come closer to the rear of this car, you guys will realize just how crazy this car is aerodynamically. But wait for that, keep watching. And yeah, so you also have these nice little aerodynamic bits here on each side of the hood there, which is definitely quite nice. You have this slightly purple tinted carbon fiber here. Check that out. It's like really lightly purple tinted carbon fiber with this white like outline on it, so it sticks out. But yeah, so you have that really nice carbon fiber trim there. You have Lotus badging here, and this is actually the initials of the guy who started Lotus. Funnily enough, it actually says ABC. So yeah, you have those nice little hint there, and his name, by the way, was Colin Chapman. So yeah, that's a nice little hint there to the old school heritage. Then you also have interesting, I guess it's actually from London or Europe or something like that, because check this out, you have a European license plate, not even an American license plate. So yeah, that is also quite nice. Then you also have these humongous air intakes. Just check out how crazy this thing is. It's like completely just sculpted by the wind. You have these really nice bottom air intakes down here, and then upper air intakes that feed into the massive radiator and grill there. And yeah, you can actually see that there's like these adjustable pieces inside of there to create more downforce and change the flow of air. And you can actually see from this angle right here that the air flows right out of the side of the car all the way from the front, so that the car is as aerodynamic as possible. So that's definitely really interesting. Before we get more in depth into the aerodynamics of this car, I just want to talk a little bit about this paint, because check this out. Like 1 second it's blue, and the next second it's purple, and the next second it's pink, like completely color changing paint. And since the Lotus Evija starts at $2 million, and if you spec it enough, it could be $2.5 million. I wouldn't be surprised if this paint cost $250,000. But yeah, so that is definitely pretty interesting. You also have this nice, really thin carbon fiber trim here, and then a tiny little carbon fiber lip on the side there as well, which is actually pretty cool, but not always noticeable. Then also you have these like connectors that are connecting the carbon fiber pieces, because these aren't just one massive piece, as you guys can see here. It was all connected, but they do it really seamlessly, so that is definitely quite nice. And you guys could also see you have a massive radiator up there. Instead of it being placed like just straight up, like vertically like most cars, it's almost horizontal, because the air flows straight into it, which is definitely really interesting. Then you also have a little camera right here as well, directly below the Lotus badge, which is also quite nice. And yes, you could see it out of there. Then we hop up here and come just to the side of this car, because yeah, it's definitely gets even crazier. Because first we're going to talk about these really nice wheels. Then I want to tell you guys how cool these mirrors are, because this car literally has one of the coolest mirrors on any car, really. But first we need to talk about these wheels. You have these nice titanium wheels here. These are center capsules. So you have a machine that just takes that one bolt off to take the wheels off quickly and efficiently. A lot of F1 cars have that, and all Porsche 911 GT3 trim cars also have this center locking bolt there. So yeah, you have those nice aluminum rims here, big Lotus badged brakes there. Those brakes are actually massive. They're probably one of the biggest front brakes I've ever seen. Those are like probably 12 inches, like 1 foot long. But hey, you have those massive front brakes there. Beautiful, those are the sporty style brake calipers. That's why they have all those holes poked into them. It's so that the air could flow through them, so they don't overheat while they're on the track or something like that. So that is also definitely quite nice. And well, if you guys could guess what tires these are, I mean, if you guys know what Pirelli is, it's most likely going to be right, because this car has Pirelli P0s like pretty much every single other hypercar or supercar on the market. So, yeah, there's a nice Pirelli P0. And there's actually the Tarefo R trim, which is the most high-performance variant of the Pirelli P0. So that is another really cool feature. Now, well, we need to talk about these mirrors, because check this out. You have a camera, not a mirror. You have a little camera that's completely made of carbon fiber that is actually also body colored. But yeah, this really nice little camera here with a pretty good size sensor on the end right there. And the camera actually just pokes out when you want to look at the mirror, and it closes up when the car's off. It's actually pretty nice that they're already out. They're like kind of sitting out. But yeah, so those are the interesting little mirrors on the Lotus Evija. And now we need to talk more about the aerodynamics of this car, because this is probably one of the most aerodynamically insane cars I've ever seen, truthfully, because check this out. So this is a massive air outtake from the wheels, right? So all the hot air out of the wheels just flows out of there. I wonder what happens to all the dirt and rocks that fall off the wheels when you're driving on country roads. Does it rip up your paint? Yeah, it's definitely a little scraped. But yeah, so I wonder if it ruins your paint if you do that. But the really cool thing about this is that this air intake here, the front air intake, pulls air all the way across and out of the rear of this car. And yeah, it's a little hard to see, but the air intake actually pulls air all the way across over to this air outtake that also works for the wheels. So that is definitely another really nice feature. You actually have your blinker light integrated here. Check this out. So instead of having a regular mirror like most cars and a regular blinker light, has a blinker light actually like pretty much built in to that really cool air outtake. So that is definitely also pretty crazy. And you guys might be thinking that is pretty much as insane as it gets. But, well, let me tell you guys that this car actually has holes pretty much opened through it. Because check this out. There's massive air intakes that form all the way across. They come all the way out. I don't know if you guys could see me, but the air forms all the way across from that air intake out of the rear of the car, and so it allows it to be insanely aerodynamic slippery. So yeah, the crazy air intake right there. You have a nice little carbon fiber lip coming across the side here as well. And then we need to talk a little bit about this area here, because this car is extremely low. Check this out. It's pretty much to here. So yeah, it's extremely low, but also a really interesting thing about this car is that this has something called a carbon fiber monocoque, which is pretty much a carbon fiber sphere. Most of the time, it's more like a sphere with a square attached to the front, but just most of the time, it's pretty much a sphere that comes all the way around the seats and the steering wheel and stuff like that of the car that protects the occupants in case there's a crash. So you have a really nice F1 car derived carbon fiber monocoque that's inside this Evija. You have this really nice little UK flag on the side here, which is a nice little hint to the heritage of, well, the Lotus brand. So that is also really nice. But now let's come to the back of this car, because this back is completely insane. One, you have a massive wing, which is literally about 2 feet. Altogether, it's probably like a 6 feet long wing, but check that out. Humongous wing coming across here. All this is actually active air, which pretty much means that with the press of a button, this could actually go up or could go down. Right now, it's in low downforce mode, but if it goes up, then it goes into extremely high downforce mode and makes way more downforce, which allows it to stick to the track. So that is definitely quite interesting. Then, well, another cool little thing is this. Most people won't really realize what's so cool about it, but this license plate here could actually move up and down depending on how you want the aerodynamics of this car. And there's actually a little piece right here. Check this out. You see this little metal piece right there? That can move up and down on the body of the car depending on if you want more downforce or less downforce. So when you press DRS mode, it goes at a steeper angle, which allows the car to create more downforce. So there's a lot of really cool aerodynamic goodies in this car. Then you hop up and your entire light's just centered around that air outtake, which in my opinion looks completely insane. But yeah, so that is another nice feature there. You have a Lotus badging coming across the side there as well, which is also a nice little feature. And yeah, then another thing I'm going to talk about before we talk about more of this mid-engine, or at least what would be mid-engine area, is this, because check this out. You have your stoplights and blinker lights. This is your stoplight here, like F1 style stoplight here, and you have your blinker lights on your side there. And as you guys can see, this is massive. You have a massive rear diffuser here, carbon fiber, and it all just flows into like one huge piece, which is definitely really, really nice. And you guys can actually see how deep that goes in. Check it out. It's literally, the entire underbody of this car is actually just flat carbon fiber, so the entire underbody just flows smoothly for the air. So that is another really, really nice feature there. Then, also, you have a nice little camera there, a rear view camera, since there isn't much in the way of rear view out of this car, because check it out. The window, there's not much there, and yes, you can't really see out of the window, but instead there's a camera right there, and there's a camera more on the top right here, as well as your main stoplight. So that is another really, really cool feature there. Then you also have your ESV, I believe those are shocks there as well, and those are actually massive. Check out those shocks. Those are humongous exposed shocks. Also, more aero here, because the air flows across here and out of the rear right here. So that is another really cool feature. This is also one massive carbon fiber piece here with these nice strips, which actually flow across pretty much the entire body of this car, because you have that beautiful purple tinted carbon fiber, and the entire strips just flow through the rest of this carbon fiber all the way to the front of this car. And actually, it might have been pretty hard to combine the purple tinted carbon fiber with the regular carbon fiber and kind of forge it in with each other, because this entire roof is actually carbon fiber. Check this out. A completely carbon fiber roof with two different types of carbon fiber pretty much intersecting. So that is another really, really cool feature. So yeah, now we've checked out pretty much all of the things that you need to know about this car, spec-wise and exterior-wise. Now all we need to do is check out the interior, and then near the end of our video. So let's check out the interior. Okay, so now let's start checking out this interior of this car. And first thing first, I want to talk about this, because you have this really interesting drive modes here. You have Sport, Track, Tour, City, and Range mode. And if you don't know what that means, it pretty much means like the touring mode and range mode are some of the most efficient modes. Range especially is the most efficient. And then Track is the most hardcore mode that you could get. And then Touring is pretty much just right in between. You have DRS, which is also really interesting. It's where the rear wing actually lifts up to create more downforce, almost like an F1 car, which is also another nice feature. You have your two blinker lights on both sides of there as well. Nice Lotus badging there as well. And I'm a huge fan of how the steering wheel is almost like a F1 car style steering wheel. You have this really interesting like square type of design with your 12 o'clock badge there, which is pretty much stitched into the steering wheel. But yeah, you have that nice Alcantara steering wheel there, which is definitely quite nice. You have your Lotus badge, and the reason why the steering wheel actually isn't a complete circle but more of a squarish type of piece is because the turning radius of this car is so tight that you only have to turn the steering wheel like sideways a little bit to turn the car all the way. So the steering is really, really responsive. So that is definitely a nice little feature to have there. You also have, this is where your screen would be with your rev limiter and stuff like that as well, which is also quite nice. And yeah, I'm a huge fan of all this carbon fiber on the interior of this car as well. Complete carbon fiber. You have like your stock there and everything like that. All this is made out of carbon fiber to make it extremely light. But yes, that is definitely quite nice. And actually, whoa, check this out. It's actually tinted purple carbon fiber. Color changing carbon fiber that's tinted. What the heck? I've never seen that. I've only seen changing, like a color changing or tinted carbon fiber on like Pagani's and Koenigsegg's. I've never seen that on Lotus. So that is definitely quite nice. You also have your Lotus leathering there as well. Then you have these nice little seats here. They're not the most comfortable, but it's pretty nice. You have that carbon fiber trimmed racing style seats there. They're holding in place pretty well. You could also adjust the seat with that little hold there, which is also a nice little feature to have. And then you have that like 12 o'clock strip going across an entire bottom of the seat and then all the way to the steering wheel, which is also a nice little feature to have. Then also you see the center console here. You have this really nice, has your start stop button right there. You'd have different mode settings there as well, and then that would be your adjuster for your AC, that nice little dial there as well. You have your window switches actually in the middle, just like on a Volvo, and also you have your parking brake there. So that is also really nice. And actually, another thing that I'm a huge fan of is that this entire roof has this really nice Alcantara trim. All this roof is covered in this beautiful Alcantara trim, and then like the footwell and everything is also covered in Alcantara, but also really nice carbon fiber trim as well. And then you also have your nice pedals there as well. And you actually also have your AC there, which is also a nice little feature. You have your little speakers on both sides there, and then your massive screen there. And so that is also definitely quite nice. And yeah, I'm a huge fan of all this really nice Alcantara. You have beautiful purple stitching coming all the way across the interior of the car there, just like the exterior. This is definitely a highly spec'd car. You have a little area right here, that's where you put your key or something like that, with a nice carbon fiber exterior of the handle. Then also you have your really nice seatbelt as well coming across there, which is definitely going to be pretty quality since it's a $2.5 million hypercar. Then you can also see Evija number 22. So this is the 22nd Evija ever made. I'm not sure how many they've made altogether. I'll put it, when I edit the video, I'll put it in the comments. But this is definitely really cool. This is the 22nd Lotus Evija ever made there. And you guys could actually see the window back there as well, where that engine would usually be in these cars, but instead there's no engine. You also have the little storage area type thing right there, where you could also see the carbon monocoque. Because a nice bit about the exterior and interior is that the interior actually has a carbon fiber monocoque, which pretty much means it's like almost like a carbon fiber sphere shaped thing that allows you to be protected when you're in a crash or something like that. And that was originally derived from F1 car tech, so it's definitely a nice little feature to have there. So that is definitely also quite nice. You can still see on the door there, you have that interesting carbon fiber door opener there. Those are actually your mirrors, because on both sides of the car, the mirrors pop out. Instead of having actual physical mirrors on the side of the car there, instead, you just have little screens that you look at, well, on the side. So that is also really nice with your purple stitching there as well, and a nice Lotus badging there as well. So that is definitely also quite nice, a simplistic little interior there. I believe is your door handle when you want to get out of the car, so that's also a nice little feature to have. So overall, this interior is definitely quite nice. Another thing I want to say is that, check this out, because right here there's actually like a huge hole where the dashboard would be right here. There's instead it's a massive like sloping hole right here, interestingly enough, and that's to save weight, one, and also it's a nice little design feature, so there's less materials that they have to use, but also it looks really nice. And you guys can also see over there, it's all like connected, like just formed together, a nice aluminum trim. But you can see behind there, it's a massive like openings and stuff, and yeah, you have your speaker integrated into what would be your dashboard. Oh, you have that little 12 o'clock strip coming across the front of the dashboard, just like on the steering wheel and just like on both seats, which is a nice little sporty racing feature to have. And yeah, actually, instead of having a regular screen, the Lotus Evija has all these different buttons. So like you could put in different modes, you could put it in DRS mode. You also could adjust the AC and stuff like that from all those nice little buttons there. And yeah, they're not on right now, but still, they definitely look pretty cool when they're on. Then also, you have the nice AC right there as well. Some more AC right here, and then also a little speaker there. So overall, this interior is definitely quite nice. You can see also your nice little what is that, air conditioning there, and then it's actually pretty cool how the single windshield wiper looks when it's like straight across the front of this car. And then I want to talk a little bit about this, because you have this really interesting hand hold piece type of thing right there, where you could turn on your little book lights there. You have SOS, you have little speakers, so if you connect Apple CarPlay to this, then you could speak, and you could also open up the doors with this, so you just press those buttons. So it's actually not via those things I thought were door handles on the doors of this car, it's actually via these interesting little buttons there. So you press them, the door opens automatically. So that is definitely another really nice little feature. So now we checked out pretty much all of the really cool interior of this car. Now let's hop out and near the end of our video. Okay, so now that we checked out everything of this car, from the specs, design, the interior, and the exterior, now I need to rate this thing because, well, overall, this thing is just a beast, spec-wise, design-wise, aerodynamic-wise, and interior-wise. Now, well, the rating of this car is 8.9. 8.9, solid rating. Overall, this car is just crazy good. Now, I hope you guys liked this video. Remember to like and subscribe to Xaaron Reviews, and comment down below what you guys think of this car. So I'll see you guys in the next video.